After my divorce from Albert was finalized, I began a new chapter of my life by moving in with my daughter, Diana. About 8 months into this transition, an unexpected event shook things up. On a quiet day off, while enjoying some downtime at home with Diana, I received an unsettling phone call from my mother. She informed me that Albert and his mother had shown up at my parents' house without any warning. Feeling alarmed and curious, I quickly got dressed and headed over there. Upon arrival, I was taken aback to find Albert and his mother sitting on the living room sofa, seemingly waiting for me. Confused, I asked, "What are you doing here at my parents' house?" Albert's response threw me off balance. He demanded, "I want you to return the money you owe me." Let me introduce myself. I'm Judy, 38 years old, an office worker. I was married to Albert for 10 years, and together, we have a daughter, Diana, now in the 8th grade. Albert and I met on a blind date, and our connection was instant. His warmth and cheerful nature drew me in. From high school sweethearts to life partners, we quickly became inseparable. After a year of dating, Albert proposed, and we celebrated our wedding with my close-knit group of high school friends. We had built a beautiful community around us, sharing milestones and celebrating each other's joy. As time passed, our group transitioned from singles to married couples, each of us eventually becoming mothers. We leaned on each other, navigating parenthood side by side. I cherished the roles I played as both a wife and a mother, and I was equally passionate about my career. After graduating from college, I secured a position in the planning and development department of a large corporation. My work was demanding but fulfilling, each day offering new challenges and lessons. One of my friends, a stay-at-home mom, once jokingly said, "You're a workaholic, Judy, but you still manage to have a great family life. It's like you're living 2 lives." Her admiration always made me laugh, though I often wished I had the boundless energy of a man. But Albert and Diana were my anchors, helping me decompress after long days. At home, Diana would greet me with her bright, "Oh, Mommy, welcome home." Her enthusiasm and warm hugs helped wash away the fatigue of the day. Albert had switched to part-time work at a cafe after Diana was born, taking on the main responsibilities of picking her up from school and preparing dinner. His cooking gave me a chance to unwind, and evenings at home became a cherished routine. Diana and I would often bathe together, sharing stories about our day. It was these simple moments of connection that brought me the most joy. My life felt like a perfect balance of career and home, built on the unwavering support of Albert and Diana. Their encouragement fueled my passion and helped me grow professionally. I felt proud of the life we had created together, proving that with the right support, you can truly have it all. As my career advanced and I began to achieve significant results, I was promoted. The new role came with added responsibilities and longer hours, leaving me to work overtime and come home late. Diana, now older, understood my commitments and was able to manage more on her own. Albert also increased his hours at the cafe, immersing himself even more in the coffee world. Lately, I had taken an interest in exploring various coffee shops, sampling their unique beans. Just that day, I had brought home some new beans and cakes from a bakery I'd discovered, eager to share them with Albert, who had become quite skilled at roasting beans. His expertise made the coffee he brewed at home extraordinary. I had hoped to enjoy a relaxing evening together, but something had shifted. I noticed a subtle distance growing between us. The first sign of trouble came when Diana confided in me. "Mom, I need to tell you something," she said. "The other day, when I was out with my friends, I saw Dad with another woman." My heart sank. They weren't holding hands, but they seemed really close. "And lately, I've noticed Dad talking on the phone a lot before you get home. He doesn't always listen to me when I'm talking to him. He looks so happy on the phone. At first, I thought it was you he was talking to, but now, after seeing him with her, I'm wondering if it was her instead." Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. Diana, in middle school, was perceptive beyond her years, and it was clear she was troubled by what she had observed. The thought of Albert, the man I had trusted, possibly being involved with someone else was heart-wrenching. I sat down with her, my heart heavy. "I'm so sorry, sweetie," I said. "I didn't realize we were making you feel this way. I've been so focused on work, haven't I?" Diana, with a maturity that stunned me, reassured me. "It's okay that you work hard, Mom. Don't feel bad about that." I could feel the weight of her words. "Thank you, Diana," I said, my voice thick with emotion. "I'll talk to Dad about this. If it turns out he's having an affair, I think I'll have to consider a divorce. Is that okay with you?" Diana nodded, her face serious. I don't like the idea of Dad having an affair, she said softly. Just knowing about it would make me feel bad if we stayed together. Her words pierced through me. This was not just about me anymore, it was about Diana, and about what kind of example I was setting for her. With a deep breath, I decided I would take action. I hired a private investigator to look into Albert's activities. The results were as devastating as they were definitive. Albert was indeed having an affair, and there was photographic evidence to confirm it. But what hurt most was the identity of his partner, Tiffany, one of my closest friends from high school, a fellow member of our mom's group. The betrayal by Tiffany stung more than Albert's infidelity. Tiffany had been a trusted friend, and to see her involved with Albert was a painful shock. As I sat in my room, processing the evidence, I was grateful that Diana hadn't walked in on me. Seeing those photos would have only added to her distress. I wasn't ready to confront Albert just yet, and I couldn't let Diana see the photographs. I needed time to compose myself. Then, a new thought crossed my mind when another friend from our mom's group mentioned she had switched jobs. It seemed like the perfect opportunity to invite Tiffany to a gathering and observe her, without revealing that I knew the truth. It was time to confront the situation head-on, but on my terms. I quietly reached out to a lawyer and began preparing for a potential divorce, steeling myself for the emotional and legal challenges ahead. After gathering my thoughts, I gently broke the news to Diana about what I had discovered, explaining that her father and I would be divorcing. We then began the task of searching for a new apartment, one that would symbolize a fresh start for both of us. As the day of the planned get-together with my friends drew closer, I felt a mix of anxiety and anticipation. When the day finally arrived, I joined my friends and started the conversation casually by asking one about her new job before we all began sharing updates on our lives. Tiffany, blissfully unaware that I knew her secret, spoke about her dissatisfaction with her routine life, saying, "I'm just a housewife stuck in the same routine. Unlike all of you who have careers, you don't have to work because your husband supports you." Another friend chimed in, "I do appreciate my husband," to which Tiffany replied, "But sometimes I feel a little bored." At that moment, I knew it was time to confront the truth. I looked directly at Tiffany and asked, "So, is that why you're having an affair with other people's husbands?" The room immediately fell into a heavy silence, the mood shifting from casual to tense. "Ah, Judy, what do you mean by that?" Tiffany stammered, her face turning pale. I stared her down, my voice steady. "It seems Tiffany has been having an affair with my husband, Albert," I declared, cutting straight to the heart of the matter. "What? No way, you must be joking," another friend said in disbelief, trying to defend Tiffany. Tiffany, taking advantage of the moment, attempted to deflect. "That's right, Judy, what are you talking about? You must have confused me with someone else." "Really?" I replied, unfazed. "Then why don't you all take a look at this?" I reached into my bag, pulled out the photos, and laid them on the table for everyone to see. The room erupted into gasps of shock as the reality of the situation sank in. "Oh my gosh," they exclaimed, all eyes turning toward Tiffany, waiting for her explanation. Tiffany, caught off guard and unable to deny the evidence, raised her hand to her mouth. "I'm sorry," she said, her voice shaking. "I happened to walk into the cafe where your husband works. I didn't know he worked there at first, but then I started going there regularly. My husband provides for me, but he's been neglecting me. I felt so lonely," she said, tears welling up in her eyes. Despite the emotional weight of her words, the betrayal was undeniable. While her reasons may have explained her actions, they didn't excuse them. This was a breach of trust, one that had left me shattered. I maintained my composure throughout the confrontation, refusing to let my emotions take control. "I'm sorry to everyone else here," I said calmly, addressing the room. "But Tiffany, I need to make something clear. I will be seeking alimony from you," I stated, unwavering. "I've already taken formal action. I sent a certified letter to your mailbox earlier today. Your husband should have already seen it." Tiffany's face fell as the weight of my words hit her. "Oh no," she murmured, her voice filled with worry and disbelief. "How could he do something so terrible?" she asked, still reeling from the shock. "I think it's far worse to have an affair with a friend's husband, especially when you're both married. And now you're making this affair public," I retorted, my voice firm. "You acted like a good wife, but you were cheating on me. And no, it's not just about exposing you. How could you do that to her family?" "It's ridiculous," I continued, my tone resolute. "People who have affairs think alike. They believe that as long as no one finds out, it's not a big deal, but what you did was wrong. It needs to be revealed, and that's why I'm divorcing you and seeking alimony and child support. Faced with irrefutable evidence, Albert couldn't deny the affair any longer. After some initial hesitation, especially about the financial implications, he agreed to the divorce. Once I hired a strong lawyer and made it clear that I was ready to take the case to court if necessary, he reluctantly consented to the terms, including financial arrangements. Following the divorce, Albert sold our house and moved into a new apartment. I successfully secured alimony from both Albert and Tiffany, receiving $50,000 from each, and also ensured that I would receive child support from Albert. With everything settled, Diana and I began rebuilding our lives. The ordeal was deeply painful, but it marked the beginning of a new chapter where we could finally find peace. Months passed, and the emotional scars of my divorce slowly began to heal. But just when I thought I had found stability, a new challenge presented itself. One afternoon, while Diana and I were enjoying a quiet day at home, I received an urgent call from my mother. She informed me that Albert and his mother had shown up at my parents' house uninvited, demanding to be let in. With my father out of the house, my mother had called me, concerned about the situation. I rushed to my parents' house, eager to understand what was going on. When I arrived, I found Albert and his mother sitting on the couch, looking as if they belonged there. Confused and alarmed, I asked, "What are you both doing here at my parents' house?" Albert's response was shocking. "I want you to give me back the money you owe me," he demanded. "I never borrowed any money from you," I replied, taken aback. He retorted, "I paid $25,000 for our wedding. You were in charge of the wedding, so that money was lent to you. Now that we're divorced, you're claiming it was all a fraud. I could sue you for marriage fraud, but right now, I just want that $25,000 back as a settlement." His unreasonable demand stunned me. His mother also insisted I pay up, clearly unaware of how unreasonable the request was. Albert, now struggling financially, had taken a full-time job at the cafe but was still not making enough to cover his expenses. I replied firmly, "We were both equally involved in the wedding, and I paid more of the living expenses than you did. The $25,000 is a small part of what I contributed. Don't come here making such demands." The tension mounted as they refused to leave. Just then, my father arrived, having been alerted by my mother. "What are you doing here?" he demanded, his voice hard. Albert repeated his claims to my father, who, though usually calm, was visibly furious. "It's your fault for having an affair in the first place," he said sternly. "If you're going to make such ridiculous demands, get out of here." In desperation, Albert fell to his knees and begged, "Please, Judy, lend me some money. Not only are you asking for alimony, but Tiffany's husband is after me too. I can't afford it. Even $166,000 would help." I felt a brief pang of pity seeing him in such a desperate state, but I stood my ground. "No, I can't do that. Go home." This only underscored the depth of Albert's desperation, but it also reaffirmed my resolve to protect my family's peace. As things escalated, my father intervened, suggesting he'd take care of it. "Fine, I'll get the money, just wait here," he said, walking off with a calm demeanor. I followed him, curious. With a sly grin, he opened the closet and pulled out some cash. "I've got plenty, let's see how they react to this. I wonder how this will play out," I thought to myself silently. My father took the money, put it in an envelope, and handed it to Albert. He and his mother left, thinking they had won. As soon as they stepped out, I locked the door and quickly called the police. It didn't take long for Albert and his mother to realize the money was fake. They returned, banging on the door in anger. "Hey, this is Monopoly money," Albert shouted, furious. I couldn't help but laugh. "Well, since we have so much of it, I thought I'd share it with you." His rage grew as he kicked the door, and the situation escalated until the police arrived and caught them in the act. The neighbors witnessed the commotion, and soon word spread. Albert lost his job, and he was forced to move back in with his parents. His in-laws even ended up covering his alimony and child support. To protect my family, I filed a restraining order against my former in-laws, ensuring that any future incidents would be met with an immediate police response. Life has since become more peaceful. Diana and I are focused on rebuilding and cherishing the time we have together.